For a long time, I have considered making like a my political journey video, like explaining the sort of environment I was raised in and like what my beliefs used to be and what exactly changed my mind and led me to where I am now. But I didn't really see a point to that. My journey didn't seem like it was atypical in any way, and other people have already made similar videos kind of like that about like how they had an obnoxious anti-SJW phase when they were teenagers, and then eventually they just moved on and became better people and grew up a little and just basically did self-reflection and eventually changed. And that's basically all there is to it for me. I was raised in a moderately conservative household, although a lot of them over the past few years have also moved to the left because they've looked around and realized they're surrounded by crazy people. And yeah, both in real life and online, I just was surrounded by a lot of that sort of stuff when I was younger. Eventually, I realized, okay, I'm surrounded by crazy people. They're inviting in like open neo-Nazis and fascists. I don't want to be into this anymore. And in my time on the left, I've discovered there's basically two types of leftists here. Obviously, this is very broad, like there's more than two types, but for the purposes of this video, we're just gonna split it into two types. There's people like me, people who had political beliefs that were at odds with this, not necessarily like right-wing or far-right, but like, just kind of enlightened centrism or regular centrism or anything like that. And over time, we did self-reflection, we experienced things in the real world, and we just eventually decided, okay, let's change our beliefs. We had to do self-reflection, we had to do introspection, and we had to analyze our beliefs to get to where we are today. Then there is group number two, and I want to preface this by saying I don't hate group number two, but it's going to sound like I do. And group number two are basically people who have kind of always been this way. Like, either they were raised in an environment which brought them to this point, or they didn't really have any political beliefs at all until they were introduced to more progressive or left-wing stuff, and then that's just basically where they decided to fall and where they've stayed. So basically, their political beliefs have always been left-wing. They've always been leftists. Group number two is the source of basically all infighting on the left, and for that reason, I find them annoying. But I'm here today to talk to group number two and tell them that you really, really do not understand what we're up against right now. Like, you do not understand the far right, their mindset, how detached from reality they are, how bloodthirsty they are, how willing to do just about anything in the right circumstances they are. So you may have seen that just a couple of days ago, or at least a couple days before this video is being filmed, fascist commentator Michael Knowles gave a speech at CPAC where he said they wanted to, quote, eliminate transgenderism. And people called him out for essentially advocating genocide, or not essentially advocating genocide, for advocating genocide. Like, no qualifiers to that at all. That's what he was doing. Even, like, normie news outlets were calling this what it was. He was advocating for getting rid of trans people altogether. And his very shitty defense of himself was that, actually, I said transgenderism. I was saying we should get rid of the ideology, learn to read. Most people didn't buy into this, thankfully, and they just called it what it was. He was advocating genocide. But there was a second part to that, which I was waiting for somebody else to bring this up, and maybe someone has, but I haven't seen it, so I'm just going to say it here. When he's calling for the abolishment of transgenderism, or gender ideology, like that's him and his friend's favorite boogeyman lately. Like they're attacking trans people, but they never say they're attacking trans people. They say they're attacking transgenderism or gender ideology. And by attacking the ideology instead of the people, you give yourself ideological justification to attack anyone related to them. Sure, that if you're trying to get rid of transgenderism, which again, they just made that up. That's not a thing. It just means whatever they want it to. It's very vague, and no one else uses it besides them. But if you're just trying to eliminate transgenderism or gender ideology, then not only does that give you carte blanche to go after trans people or NB people or any sort of gender non-conforming people, that also gives you an excuse to go after doctors who are supportive of that sort of thing, to go after parents of kids who are supportive of their kids' transition, to go after teachers, to go after people, hell, people like me who are just vocally supportive of it. Like, that it gives them an excuse to go after a whole bunch more people just for opposing them. If you don't believe me, you can look at old speeches from the Nazis and old propaganda from the Nazis from the 20s, 30s, and even into the 40s when World War II was going on and they were solidly in power and had been in for a while. They never said, or not they never said, but they rarely said they were going after Jews, and they didn't usually say they were trying to destroy Judaism. They said they were trying to destroy Jewish Bolshevism. They were fighting against Jewish Bolshevism. And that gave them carte blanche to go after pretty much everyone because, again, Jewish Bolshevism, that's a term they just made up. That's not, it wasn't a thing. It was just them trying to lump all of their enemies together. You know, they hated socialists, they hated Jews. They couldn't just say they hated those two groups for different reasons. They had to say, okay, everybody, okay, now the heat turns on, I swear to God. They had to say, okay, everyone who is like this is against us. They are trying to kill us. They are trying to destroy us because, you know, they're trying to get their followers afraid and get them riled up so that they can convince them to do genocidal actions. And so when they targeted Jewish Bolshevism, that included all Jews, which was a group they wanted to go up against, but that also included all socialists. It included anyone in their own party who objected to any of this or was not on board enough with it, like so the moderates in their own party, everyone was in the path of this. It is an unfortunate fact that genocidal rhetoric on the far right towards the LGBT community has been getting more and more blatant lately, but the fact that no one else seemed to pick up on the fact that hey, by attacking the ideology, they're also, or the ideology, let's put quotes around that because it's really not, but by attacking the very idea of trans people in the way they're doing, they're giving themselves justification to attack everyone related to them and anyone who opposes them in any way. And the fact that no one seemed to pick up on that, that just led me to an epiphany that, like, oh, okay, people who have just always been on the left and who have not spent time, like, surrounded by right-wing culture, surrounded by conservative culture, they just don't get it. And they don't really understand what they're up against. And I think that's a big part of what has been causing some of this recent infighting. Because the recent stuff is particularly stupid. Like, people lost their fucking minds for like 3 weeks over a Harry Potter game. Like, and they didn't just lose their minds at it. They were actively ostracizing each other and ostracizing people that they agree with 98% of the time for not being as enthusiastic as they were in their condemnation of this, or for saying, hey, maybe it's not that big a deal. Like, they're actively ostracizing their own allies, and that's just one example of what we've seen lately, where you people just don't get it. You really don't get it. Like, we need to focus on more important shit than that. If you go pretty much anywhere on the internet where right-wingers hang out, particularly the far right, they make all kinds of jokes about starting a civil war and killing all the liberals, right? But which, again, keep in mind, the far right is not very good at anything resembling nuance, so all of their enemies are merged together. The liberals, communists, socialists, Jews, gay people, they're all the exact same to them. Like, it's an amorphous blob of just all those identities they hate. But anyways, their idea, they make memes and like fantasy comments and everything about just rolling into cities, and they say, haha, the war would be over in a day, they don't have any guns, and killing everybody. And that's the thing to keep in mind, they don't fantasize about war, okay? Like, there's a movie that came out in, I believe, 2017, it's called Bushwick. It's an alright movie. It's about an ex-soldier who lives in Brooklyn, played by Dave Bautista, and he meets up with another group of people because some militia people came in and started attacking the city, and it's basically like the opening of a civil war. And like I said, it's an alright movie, but there's one scene that really sticks with me, and that's when some of the militia guys are talking, and they say, and one of them says something along the lines of, I don't get it, they're shooting back, they're supposed to just lie down and die. And whoever came up with that line, whether it's like writer, director, actor, or whoever, that person gets it.
What's the plan here? in New York.
We were just supposed to lock down Bushwick, round people up, no one gets hurt, establish a green zone for further operations, and wait for the president to fold. We didn't anticipate so much resistance from a designated soft spot.
And why the hell is that?
Ethno-diversity, sir.
Racist motherfucker.
It ain't racist, it's fact.
This racist pig fucker thinks that because there's so many minorities here in Brooklyn that we won't fight back? Well, how's that working out for you? How? How's that working out?
Our intel told us
Fuck your intel.
there weren't supposed to be so many guns. They're illegal here.
Welcome to New York, stupid motherfucker.
These people do not fantasize about war. They fantasize about genocide. They fantasize about killing you and everyone you love and everything you stand for. The specifics are lost on them and the subtle differences are lost on them. It does not matter. If you oppose them in any way, you are lumped in as an enemy and they want you dead. The only thing stopping them at this time is their inherent cowardice. Like, the US government still is functional, and if they just grab a rifle, start shooting at people at random, or going after specific targets even, they will be arrested for that and likely killed in the process. But like, their intense fear, that's what's keeping them from doing this action. There's nothing else stopping them beyond that. And the people who have just always been leftists, they just fucking they don't seem to get this. I don't know if I am just going fucking crazy here, or if you are not understanding this. Like, if you have not spent time surrounded by conservative people, and I mean, like, you know, normal center-right, pretty reasonable, relatively moderate conservative people, and, like, you know, farther right people online and stuff, if you have not spent time around them, then I just don't think you get this. And I know someone is just going to try and dismiss this and say, like, oh, okay, he's just still a Nazi, or some shit like that. I was never far right. I was never a Nazi. I just had, like I said, an obnoxious anti-SJW phase, which brought me into contact with people like this. And my family is, I mean, they used to be fairly conservative, not quite as much anymore. But, you know, I've been surrounded by this. I understand this mindset. I understand this is not an exaggeration. Millions of people, just in the United States, millions of people actively want you dead. It does not matter if you're trans or, excuse me, if you're trans or if you're just a moderate liberal or somewhat progressive person or on the extreme left. It does not matter. You are all the same to them. They actively want you dead. And I'm not saying this to try and, like, scare you or get you to shut up or anything, because while, yes, a lot of you are annoying when you try to start discourse TM about Hogwarts legacy, or about whether teaching your kids to speak French is racist, or just, like, you know, stupid shit like that, which causes waves for days at a time and drama for days at a time. Like, yes, I find you annoying, but I don't want you to die. I care about you, at least a little bit. I am telling you this so that you understand the gravity of the situation and you understand what we are up against, because I think a lot of you don't get it. I think a lot of you are still viewing this as like a purely intellectual exercise on the internet where you get to use facts and logic to show your opponents that they're wrong. And that's just not how it's working right now. Okay? It just isn't. There are millions of people just waiting for the go-ahead to either kill you or just stand aside and not give a shit while you are killed. And so right now, I am just using this opportunity to try and implore you to just fucking shut up once in a while. You know, when some shit comes along, ask yourself, is it really that important? Do I need to try and alienate people over this? Do I need to fight with my alleged allies over this? Or do I just need to, like, roll my eyes at it, think, okay, this is kind of annoying, and then move on? Because I can't tell you how often I do that. Like, there's so many times where I see other leftists say dumb shit, or they just try to start drama, or whatever, that I just roll my eyes and move on, okay? And here's the thing. Like I was saying, trans people are, like, being most heavily targeted with genocidal rhetoric right now, but everyone near them in any way, and again, everyone on the left in general, is also going to be targeted. I don't want to get put up against a wall and shot by some like obnoxious MRA red pill Greek alphabet enthusiast guys because people on Twitter just didn't want to examine the underlying social conditions that led to them falling down that path in the first place and just decided to dismiss them out of hand and not put any effort into, I don't know, de-radicalizing them or trying to turn them onto our side or anything like that. I don't want to see anybody get killed because they thought that whining about Hogwarts Legacy was a better use of their time and energy than trying to counteract this massive wave of anti-trans propaganda and legislation that has been pumped all over through the fucking internet and all over the country for, I don't know, a year now? Maybe a little over a year? Like, it's very recent. That's what people seem to forget. Like, this hate for the trans community did not exist that long ago. And I certainly don't want to watch anyone get put into camps because they saw that one of their allies decided to vote for Joe Biden as a form of harm reduction, and then they decided, okay, that just means you're a centrist liberal. And as we all know, centrists, the center-right, the far-right, they're all the exact same. They're all just reactionaries. So just fucking stop, okay? I have no illusions that this video is going to stop anything, but if even one of you can even one time think back on this and realize, you know what, this isn't important, let's either stay out of it altogether or say, this isn't important, chill the fuck out. If it does that, then I suppose it's worked. But if you learn anything from this, remember, they are not joking when they say they want to kill you.